A proposal in the state of Texas could mean massive tax breaks for families. The bill, aimed at encouraging marriage and family formation in the Lone Star State, would provide married couples with a 10% deduction on their property taxes. The credit jumps to 40% for couples with 4 or more children and increases by 10% per additional child. And joining us tonight with more is Jonathan Saenz, president of Texas Values. Jonathan, great to be with you again. This is a pretty unique proposal put forth by a Texas lawmaker. What more can you tell us about it, and what prompted it?
Well, you know what they say, everything's bigger in Texas, and sometimes that includes families. And so as I understand this legislation, that the homestead tax exemption is what married couples get. You start qualifying for at 4 children. And I think if you make it all the way up to 10 children, it's 100% exemption. But, you know, it's a part of being pro-life and also being pro-family is understanding the economic side of that. When people have families and they have large families, the impact that can have on them, and as a way to show that support and to have those families continue to stay together, we know there's a lot of value to that. And so I think that's one thing that's being represented here in the work that we do in Texas. Those are things that we support, doing pro-family and pro-life work throughout the state.
Yeah, and I understand the proposal was inspired in part by policies put in place in Poland and in Hungary to lift falling birth rates. And over the weekend at CPAC, President Trump said that he wanted to see a baby boom and would like to give baby bonuses to people who had more children. That said, do you think these type of incentives will actually encourage people to grow their families?
Well, I mean, it's one way to continue to show that there are a variety of ways that Texas is pro-life. But part of that is, I mean, talk to U-Haul. I mean, they're running out of trucks coming to Texas, I hear, from California and other states, because we continue to see a lot of population growth in the state of Texas. And that's a good thing. Also, with the pro-life measures that we put in place, like the Texas heartbeat law last year, and the overturning of the Roe versus Wade case, which originally was a Texas case, we expect to see there continue to be an increase in births, but a lot of that has to do with a healthy economy. Texas continues to be, based on some publications, for over 10 years, the best state to do business.
Yeah, and this bill, I mean, seems great to me, but it's catching a lot of flack from the left for its exclusion of divorced and same-sex couples. Will those voices, hold up this bill? Where do you see this going?
Well, I think one thing it's doing is creating a very important conversation, and also allowing people to say there are a lot of different ways that states like Texas and others can show that they're pro-life and can support people that continue to have strong, healthy families and large families, as we continue to see more of that in the state of Texas. And I think as well, we're going to see that in pro-life states like Texas and others. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, we're about midway through our session. We've got an event coming up on Monday, the Texas Faith and Family Day, where we're going to talk a lot about those issues and what's come. We're about halfway through our state legislative session. And so we're just really getting started in a lot of ways. But, we'll see what happens. But I think it's creating a very important conversation.
We have about a little less than a minute left or so, but I'm curious, what other issues are you following down there in Texas?
Sure. Well, look, and again, I thank you so much for having us on. We know that in the work we do in the state of Texas, the pro-life issue continues to get a lot of attention. As I mentioned earlier, Texas heartbeat law was passed a year and a half ago, held up by state and federal courts and the U.S. Supreme Court. The Roe versus Wade case that was overturned, which allowed abortion on demand, came out of the state of Texas. But our pro-life work is not done. There's important work that we're going to continue to do to protect those pro-life laws, to support measures like the Alternatives to Abortion program in the state of Texas, which provides over $100 million to nonprofit pregnancy centers and other entities that want to help women and their babies, not only during the pregnancy, but after, once the baby's born as well. And so we've got a great event we're having on Monday, March 13th, that people can still sign up for online or in person. Abby Johnson's going to be there. She says that $200 can be the difference in whether or not an abortion is performed or a woman makes a decision to have an abortion. And even though abortion is now illegal in the state of Texas, Planned Parenthood and other groups are trying to lure women out of the state of Texas to have abortion other places. We know there's litigation going on against the FDA, a court case that Alliance Defending Freedom is having that's filed in the state of Texas. That decision could come any day on how the FDA is allowing for chemical abortions. I don't think people realize, or a lot of people realize, the majority of abortions now are chemical abortions by a pill. And so now what we're seeing is the dorm room is taking the place of the doctor's office, because young ladies are taking these pills in their dorm room or other places. They're not being monitored by a physician. And sometimes there can be deadly consequences when things don't go the right way. So we'll see what happens in that litigation. But, what's interesting, what ADF says is that one of the reasons that those pills got approved by the FDA was because they were labeling pregnancy as an illness. And so a lot of things going on there in the background with the FDA that were harmful and are now being brought to light.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for weighing in, and thank you for all you do. We appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you.